It was just past midnight when I left my friend's house in the next town over. The road home was long, stretching through farmland and thick patches of forest. I'd driven it dozens of times before, but that night, something felt different. The air seemed heavier, the woods darker than usual, like the trees themselves leaned closer to the road. The rain had started an hour earlier, a steady drizzle that made my headlights blur against the windshield. I rolled the window down slightly, hoping the cold air would keep me awake. That's when I saw her. At first I thought it was just a trick of the rain, a pale shape on the side of the road. But as my car drew closer, the figure sharpened into view. A young woman, maybe early 20s, soaked to the bone, her long dark hair plastered against her face. She was barefoot, shivering, clutching something tightly in her arms. Instinct told me to keep driving, but guilt gnawed at me. This was the middle of nowhere. If I didn't stop, who else would? I slowed, pulled to the shoulder, and leaned across at the seat to open the passenger door. "You need a ride," I called out over the hiss of the rain. She didn't answer right away. Her head tilted slowly as though the movement itself was painful. Then she nodded and stepped closer, water dripping from her clothes and leaving dark spots on the pavement. When she climbed into the car, the temperature seemed to drop instantly. My breath fogged in front of me, though the heater was on full blast. "Thank you," she whispered, voice so faint I almost didn't hear it. "No problem," I said, forcing a smile. "Where are you headed?" Her answer was strange. "Home." She didn't elaborate, just sat stiffly in the seat, clutching the bundle in her arms, eyes fixed on the road ahead. I tried to glance at what she was holding, but it was wrapped in an old soaked blanket. Whatever it was, she didn't want me to see it. As the miles rolled by, the silence grew heavier, pressing down on me. My gut told me something wasn't right. And then, without warning, she spoke again. "Don't miss the turn." Her finger lifted, pointing toward a narrow dirt road I had never noticed before. I slowed the car, squinting through the rain. The road she pointed to was little more than a gap in the trees, gravel half swallowed by mud and weeds. I was sure I'd driven this stretch dozens of times, but I had never noticed it before. "You live down there?" I asked carefully. She didn't answer right away. Her pale face turned toward me, eyes dull and glassy, yet her lips curved into the faintest smile. "Yes," she whispered. "It's the only way home." Against my better judgment, I turned. The tires crunched over wet gravel, the headlights swallowed by looming trees on either side. The deeper we drove, the more the sounds of the highway vanished, replaced by a suffocating silence. Even the rain seemed quieter here, muffled beneath the canopy of branches. I tried again to make conversation, anything to break the tension. "Where were you coming from? You're kind of out in the middle of nowhere." Her grip on the bundle tightened. The blanket shifted slightly and I swore I saw something pale beneath it. Small, fragile. She held it closer to her chest, rocking it gently. "My baby," she murmured. I felt my stomach twist. I hadn't noticed before, but the shape beneath the blanket was about the size of an infant. "Oh," I said awkwardly, keeping my eyes on the road. "How old is he?" Her lips twitched, but she didn't answer. Instead, she leaned her forehead against the cold glass of the window, whispering something too low for me to catch. The only word I could make out was "sorry." A cold unease settled over me. The further I drove, the stranger the road became. The trees pressed closer, branches arching overhead like a tunnel. My headlights seemed weaker here, struggling to push back the darkness. I glanced at the fuel gauge. Half a tank. Enough to get me back, I told myself. Enough to turn around if I needed to. Then I noticed something in the rearview mirror. At first, it was just a flicker of movement, a pale shape darting between the trees. Then another. Shapes. Too tall to be animals. Too fast to be people. Keeping pace with the car. I tightened my grip on the wheel. "Do you see that?" I asked. The woman didn't move. She just cradled the bundle tighter and whispered, "They always follow." The car jolted as the road dipped, water splashing up from deep potholes. My knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. I didn't dare slow down, not with those things moving in the trees, keeping pace with us like shadows. Every few seconds, I caught glimpses of them. Long limbs, pale faces that flashed between the trunks. Their movements weren't natural. They were too smooth, too fluid, gliding rather than running. I tried to keep my eyes forward, but my nerves betrayed me. I checked the mirror again. This time, one of the shapes wasn't in the trees. It was right behind the car, its face pressed up against the back window, mouth stretched wide in a grin that didn't look human. The glass fogged with each heavy breath it exhaled. I swerved, panic surging, but the face vanished as if it had never been there. My passenger didn't flinch. She didn't even look back. "They can't touch you," she whispered. "Not while I'm here." I finally snapped. "What the hell is going on? Who are you? What are those things?" She turned toward me slowly, and for the first time, I saw her clearly in the dashboard light. Her skin was gray, mottled, like it hadn't seen sunlight in years. Her lips were cracked blue at the edges, and her eyes, God, her eyes, were dull, lifeless, like cloudy glass. And the bundle in her arms. The blanket slipped just enough for me to see. It wasn't a baby. It was a doll. A porcelain doll, its face cracked, one eye missing, wrapped tightly as if it were something fragile and alive. My stomach lurched. You're not." Before I could finish, she pressed a finger to her lips. "Shh. Don't make them angry." The car shuddered as something slammed into the side. I gripped the wheel, fighting to stay on the narrow path. Shadows darted across the windshield, long fingers scraping against the glass. The woman rocked the doll in her arms, humming a broken lullaby through chattering teeth. "They won't let me go home," she said softly. "Not until someone takes my place." The words chilled me more than the figures outside. My instincts screamed that I'd made a mistake, that picking her up was the worst decision of my life. Ahead, the dirt road narrowed even more, swallowed by darkness. And I realized with horror that I hadn't seen a single turnoff since leaving the highway. My chest was tight, every breath shallow as I fought the wheel through the winding dirt path. The figures pressed closer now, darting in and out of the headlights, scraping long fingers against the car as if testing the shell of metal between us. I slammed the gas, tires spitting mud, heart pounding in my ears. All the while the woman sat perfectly calm, rocking her porcelain baby, humming that broken lullaby. "Almost home," she whispered. The trees suddenly broke, and the car skidded into a clearing. My headlights caught the outline of something ahead. Rotting wooden posts, the remains of a gate. Behind it stood the charred skeleton of a house, half burned black against the night sky. "Stop here," she said. I shook my head violently. "No way. I'm taking you back to town. You need help." Her voice hardened, sharper than before. "Stop. Here." Before I could respond, the car lurched to a halt. The engine was still running, but the vehicle refused to move. as if something far heavier than the mud held it down. My hands trembled as I pressed the gas. Nothing. She turned toward me then, and her face was no longer pale, but hollow, sunken. Her lips pulled into a wide, unnatural smile. Her eyes gleamed with something that wasn't human. "You've brought me home," she said softly. "Now it's your turn." The passenger door swung open on its own. She stepped out, cradling the doll, her soaked dress leaving dark streaks in the mud. As she walked toward the ruins, the figures in the trees followed, circling, bowing their heads in silence. I tried to throw the car in reverse, but the wheel locked. The lights flickered, the engine sputtered, and then dead silence. And in that silence, I heard her voice one last time, carried faintly on the cold night air. "Don't miss the turn." Then the world snapped back. The car roared to life beneath me. The headlights blazed, and suddenly the dirt road behind me was open again. I didn't question it. I slammed the pedal down and sped back the way I'd come, not daring to look in the mirrors. By the time I hit the highway, dawn was breaking. The rain had stopped. The world looked normal again, but my hands still shook on the wheel. I told myself I'd never go down that road again, that I'd forget it, forget her. But 2 nights later, as I drove a different stretch of highway, I saw her again, standing in the rain, clutching the same doll, waiting for another ride.